Chairman. Call Damien O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I have to say, Mr. Chairman, I haven't participated in this debate, but in coming down to the House and listening to discussion and picking up the bill and looking at it, and I acknowledge the good work my colleagues are doing here, on this particular Part 6, amendments to stamp and cheque duties, one of the things that the bill states, of course, in its intentions, of course, is to, of course, remove tax avoidance opportunities, better alignment, maintain the integrity and fairness of the goods and services tax, and obviously here to make some adjustments around stamp and cheque duties, or the Act of 1971. I was recently in Australia, Mr. Speaker, in Victoria, and the question was asked by a previous speaker. I understand that stamp duties are quite significant in Australia, and wasn't sure of the amount. Well, I understand in Victoria, if you sell a house, Mr. Speaker, it's either 4 or 5% stamp duty paid directly to the state government. This is in the land of opportunity, the wonderful country that this government has chosen to compare us to. And indeed the Prime Minister said on many, many occasions that we have to step up and match Australia. Well, the question I would ask is, here is an opportunity to align with Australia. Now, I don't think anyone, certainly not the Labor Party, would advocate for an introduction of 5% stamp duty on the sale of your property, Mr. Speaker. But the question I ask, and it's one that the Select Committee, if it had had the time to go through this bill, could have possibly teased out, is that how is it that Victoria, in Australia, that is the country we have to aspire to match, can have stamp duty of 5% and still maintain a high level of income, a high level of economic activity, and indeed be, to choose the Prime Minister's words, be a better place to live in. Well, that's what he said on many occasions. That's what we should be looking for. And with the alignment across the Tasman, Mr. Speaker, and we're talking about non-resident withholding tax, it was spoken of by my colleagues that we must align with Australia as much as possible so that we remove the distortions. And I think most of us have accepted that's a good way a good direction in which to move. Then what is the issue of stamp duty in terms of its impact on the relative prosperity of either country? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And we've been told that less tax is always good, except that this government has actually put taxes up in a whole lot of areas, not just GST, but taxes around petrol, taxes around new charges for vehicle registration, Mr. Speaker. And the point being here that I ask of the Minister, if she should choose to take a call, is that how will this align the Stamp and Cheque Duties Act and the alignment between Australia and New Zealand? And how is it that Australia can have such high stamp duties, and it has GST as well, and a whole lot of other things, and still be better off than New Zealand? And are the changes we are making in this legislation and in the rushed supplementary order paper, Mr. Speaker, are they actually making a significant improvement in the tax regime or in the way that we operate the system in this country? Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to say any more than that, other than it's a question that I asked a few weeks ago in Australia. I now have the opportunity to ask the Minister, and perhaps she can get up and take a call, or maybe she doesn't know. Or maybe she might acknowledge that the Select Committee might have found out. But of course we are rushing this through unnecessarily, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure that the changes in Part 6 will be amended in a very near future because we're not going through this in a thorough way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.